I never thought I'd be the one telling this kind of story. You know, the kind where you look back and realize the signs were always there. You just didn't want to see them. My girlfriend, Anna, and I had been together for almost 4 years. We shared everything, or at least I thought we did. It started subtly. The late-night texts she'd brush off as just work. The sudden urgency for after-hours meetings. And those moments when I'd catch her smiling at her phone, only for her to lock the screen as I walked by. At first, I told myself it was all in my head. She was under pressure. Her new manager was demanding. That's what she said. But the distance between us grew. Conversations that used to flow naturally felt forced. She'd avoid eye contact. Our weekends, once filled with laughter, became strained. I wanted to believe it was just stress. But deep down, I felt that cold grip of doubt tightening around my heart. One evening, I picked her up after one of those late meetings. I saw it. The way her manager lingered a little too long at the car window. The way she blushed when he said goodbye. It was like the final puzzle piece clicking into place. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I started watching. I needed to be sure before I accused the woman I loved of something so devastating. I had no idea then how far the betrayal went, or how exposing them would spiral into a mess none of us could control. But that night, everything changed. And so did I. After that night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with questions, with doubts, with what-ifs. I didn't want to be that paranoid boyfriend who didn't trust the woman he loved, but something deep inside told me that if I didn't find out the truth, I'd never forgive myself. So I started paying attention. When Anna said she had a meeting, I noted the time. When she claimed she was too tired to talk or spend time together, I watched how she acted. I didn't want to snoop. I hated the idea. But I was already losing her, wasn't I? One night, she left her laptop open on the couch. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But curiosity, no, desperation, got the better of me. I didn't dig through files or emails. I didn't have to. A chat window was open, right there. And it was him. Her manager. Their messages weren't about work. They were about them. Jokes I'd never heard. Plans I wasn't part of. Words I thought she only said to me. My stomach dropped. I felt sick. But at the same time, a strange calm came over me. I finally knew. This wasn't in my head. I wasn't imagining it. And that's when I decided, if she could lie so easily, so could I. I would play along, act normal, until I figured out how to show the world what they really were. Because if they thought they could betray me and walk away unscathed, they had no idea who they were messing with. This was just the beginning. I wish I could tell you that I broke down crying that night, or that I confronted Anna right then and there. But I didn't. Instead, I stared at that chat window. Those words that shattered the world I thought I knew, and something inside me hardened. They thought I was naive. They thought I wouldn't notice. But now, I had the upper hand. And I was going to use it. The next few days were the hardest. Every time I looked at her, every time she kissed me goodnight, or told me she loved me, it felt like poison. But I smiled back. I played my part. Because if I was going to expose them, I needed more than a few text messages. I needed undeniable proof. I started small. When she said she was going out for a work dinner, I followed, carefully at a distance. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might give me away. And there they were. At a quiet corner table, sharing a bottle of wine, leaning in close, laughing, like they didn't have a care in the world. I snapped a few photos. I recorded a bit of video from my phone. Every piece of evidence felt like another stab to the heart, but I kept going. Because I knew what I had to do next. I had to find his wife. They wanted to play games behind our backs. Fine. But I was done being the fool. It was time to flip the script. They thought their secret was safe. They were so wrong. The next morning, I barely slept, but my mind was sharper than ever. Every word they'd shared behind my back played on a loop in my head. I wasn't just doing this for me anymore. Someone else was living in the dark, just like I had been. His wife. She deserved to know the truth too. But how do you even start a conversation like that? I found her on social media, smiling in family photos, the perfect image of a supportive wife. And it hit me hard. She was just like me, blind to what was really happening. I drafted a message at least a dozen times. I didn't want to sound bitter or like I was out for revenge. I just wanted her to see what I had seen. Finally, I sent it. Hi. I don't know how to say this, but I think you should see something. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just believe you deserve honesty. Please take a look at these photos and videos. I'm so sorry you're seeing this from me, a stranger. But I couldn't stay silent. I attached everything I'd gathered, and then I waited. It felt like the longest day of my life. That evening, I got her reply. She thanked me. No anger at me, no denial, just heartbreak, confusion, and a quiet strength I didn't expect. She asked if we could talk on the phone, and so we did. Two strangers, bound by betrayal, sharing tears and stories. It wasn't about destroying lives anymore. It was about truth. And the truth was coming for Anna and that VP faster than they ever imagined. When I hung up the phone with the VP's wife, I felt both heavy and relieved. Heavy because I'd just helped shatter someone's world. Relieved because the burden of truth wasn't mine alone anymore. She was remarkably calm, but I could hear the storm behind her voice. She thanked me again and said, "Don't worry, I'll handle it from here." And oh, did she handle it? 2 days later, I got word. Not from her, but through the grapevine. The VP's wife didn't just confront him quietly at home. No. She waited until his company's charity gala, the one where he loved to show off his perfect family. In front of colleagues, clients, donors. She walked in, calm and collected, and handed him an envelope. Photos, screenshots, proof. Then she turned to the crowd and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, my husband's been supporting more than just charity. I hope you'll continue to donate. I'm done doing so." She left him standing there speechless. The VP's spotless reputation? Gone in minutes. Anna? Well, word travels fast in their circle. Her boss humiliated, her affair public. She was suddenly the woman who wrecked a marriage and almost sank a company's image. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. Honestly, I felt sad. Sad that it had to come to this. But also at peace, because the lies were over. What I didn't expect was what happened next. When Anna came knocking at my door, begging for forgiveness. It was late evening when I heard the knock. I opened the door, and there she was. Anna. She looked nothing like the confident woman I once knew. Her eyes were swollen from crying, hair a mess, hands trembling as she clutched her phone like it was her last lifeline. "Please, can we talk?" she whispered. Part of me wanted to slam the door, but another part, the part that once loved her, let her in. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. I ruined everything. I didn't think it would end like this. I lost my job, he blocked my number, and now everyone knows. I have nowhere else to go. She looked up at me, eyes pleading. "Can you forgive me? Can we start over? I was stupid. I thought it was just harmless fun. I didn't mean to hurt you." Her words echoed in my mind, but all I could feel was numbness. After everything, the lies, the betrayal, the pain, how could she think we could just hit reset? I took a deep breath and said, "Anna, I hope you find peace. I hope you learn from this. But I can't be the one to fix what you broke. I'm done trying to pick up the pieces of something you destroyed." She sat there, stunned. The reality hit her harder than anything I could have said. I wasn't angry. I wasn't cruel. I was just done. That night, as she left my apartment for the last time, I felt lighter. The chapter was closing. But life wasn't finished teaching us lessons just yet. A few weeks passed, and while I focused on rebuilding my life, the storm I'd set in motion kept raging elsewhere. Word spread quickly in the corporate world. The company where Anna's manager, let's call him Greg, worked, wasn't about to let a scandal tarnish their reputation. Greg's affair with a subordinate wasn't just frowned upon. It violated company policy. Soon I heard from mutual acquaintances that Greg had been suspended pending an investigation. The whispers at his workplace turned to outright gossip. His picture-perfect image as the respectable VP shattered overnight. What really sealed his fate was when Greg's wife, yes, the woman I'd contacted, decided she wasn't going to quietly stand by. She filed for divorce, hired one of the top attorneys in the city, and took Greg to court. She made sure that his career, finances, and social standing paid the price for his betrayal. I won't lie. Hearing all this gave me a sense of closure. I wasn't proud of the pain involved, but I felt justified. These two had played with people's hearts like it was a game, and now the game was over. The most unexpected part? Greg tried reaching out to me, a pathetic email filled with excuses, blaming stress, claiming Anna had meant nothing, begging me to retract my statement to his wife. But I didn't even reply. I realized that revenge wasn't about what happened to Greg or Anna. The real victory was reclaiming my peace, and that's when I knew I was truly free of them. After everything blew up, I thought I'd feel empty. I'd imagined this moment. The cheaters exposed, their perfect facades crumbling, but the silence afterward felt strange. It's like I was standing in the aftermath of a storm, trying to make sense of what remained. That's when something unexpected happened. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years reached out. People who had heard about Anna's betrayal, about how I'd handled it, started calling, messaging, even visiting. Some said they admired how I'd kept my dignity. Others simply offered a shoulder or an ear or a warm meal. I remember one evening vividly. A colleague I barely knew that well invited me over for dinner. We sat on his porch, watching the sun set, talking about everything but the betrayal. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I laughed. Genuinely laughed. It felt like a small crack of light breaking through the darkness I'd been carrying inside. Even Anna's family, believe it or not, reached out. Her sister called me in tears, saying she was ashamed of what Anna had done. She said she'd always thought of me as a brother, and that wouldn't change. I didn't expect their support, but it reminded me that not everyone tied to Anna was part of the betrayal. That's when I began to realize something important. The affair had shattered my trust, yes, but it hadn't destroyed my capacity for connection or for hope. There were people who cared, people who saw me for who I was, not just the man who'd been cheated on. And with that, I started rebuilding, not for revenge anymore, but for me. After those first moments of unexpected support, I slowly began to feel like I was waking up from a long nightmare. For weeks, I had been consumed by thoughts of betrayal, anger, and sadness. But now I started focusing on myself. It was time to heal. Time to stop letting what Anna and her manager did define who I was. I began small. Each morning, I forced myself to get out of bed, to take a walk, to breathe in fresh air. I went back to the gym, not to punish myself or escape my feelings, but because I wanted to feel strong again, inside and out. Every step on that treadmill, every weight I lifted reminded me that I wasn't broken. I was still here. I was still me. Therapy helped too. I won't lie. Sitting there, saying the words out loud was hard, but hearing someone else say, "You didn't deserve this. This doesn't define your worth," started to break down the walls I'd built around my heart. What surprised me most was how my mindset changed. I stopped replaying what they did to me and started thinking about what I wanted next. What kind of life did I want? Free from the lies, free from their shadows. I realized I had a second chance to build a life on my terms. A life where I didn't have to question who had my back. A life where I could trust again, even if it would take time. I wasn't the man who got cheated on anymore. I was the man who survived it and came out stronger. It's funny how life works sometimes. I didn't have to lift a finger to see karma do its job. A few months after everything went down, I started hearing whispers, stories that reached me through mutual friends and colleagues. And let me tell you, what happened to Anna and her manager? It was like watching the universe balance the scales. First, the manager's world started crumbling. Turns out their little affair wasn't as secret as they thought. Someone from HR had caught wind of it, and with workplace policies being what they are, he was let go. Not only did he lose his high-paying job, but his professional reputation was ruined. Word spread fast in that industry. No one wanted to hire a man known for crossing that line, for destroying trust both at work and at home. And Anna? When she realized that he couldn't provide the glamorous future she imagined, the cracks between them widened. The guy she risked everything for wasn't a knight in shining armor anymore. He was just a man with a wrecked career, mounting debt, and a bitter ex-wife fighting him for every penny. Meanwhile, I focused on my own growth. I stayed silent while their drama played out, choosing peace over revenge. But deep down, I felt a quiet satisfaction knowing I hadn't needed to do anything. They destroyed themselves with their choices. Now, I'm in a better place. I'm not defined by their betrayal anymore. I'm defined by how I rose above it. And if you're watching this, wondering if it gets better, trust me, it does. Let them dig their own graves. You just keep building your future.